The Gift. Chapter 1, The Lightning Strike. John Anderson lived a life of predictability and routine. At 35, his days followed a familiar pattern. He woke up at 6 a.m., had breakfast while watching the morning news, and then drove to his job as an accountant at a small firm in the heart of town. John enjoyed the orderliness of his life. It provided a sense of control and stability. However, this sense of predictability was shattered on a stormy summer evening that changed his life forever. It was a Thursday, and John had stayed late at the office to finish an important report. By the time he left, the sky was already dark, filled with ominous clouds. As he walked to his car, the first drops of rain began to fall. He hurried, hoping to beat the storm home, but it was no use. The rain quickly turned into a torrential downpour, and thunder rumbled in the distance. John drove cautiously, the windshield wipers working furiously against the deluge. Lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating the road ahead. He was just a few blocks from his house when it happened. A blinding flash of light filled the car, and an ear-splitting crack of thunder followed immediately. John felt an intense heat and then, nothing. When John regained consciousness, he was no longer in his car. Instead, he found himself in a vast, open field under a sky that seemed to glow with an otherworldly light. The air was filled with a sense of peace and serenity that he had never experienced before. As he looked around, he noticed a figure approaching him, radiating a divine brilliance. The figure was Jesus. His presence exuded an aura of love and compassion, and his eyes seemed to look into the very depths of John's soul. John fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the sheer majesty of the vision. "John," his voice gentle yet powerful, "you have been chosen for a purpose. You will have the gift to see into the lives of those you touch. Use this gift wisely." John felt a surge of warmth and understanding wash over him. He tried to speak, but no words came out. He could only nod, accepting the mission bestowed upon him. As the vision began to fade, Jesus' final words echoed in his mind, "Remember, this gift is a blessing, but it will also be a burden. Stay strong and have faith." John awoke with a start, finding himself in a hospital bed. His body ached all over, and he was hooked up to various machines. The room was filled with the steady beeping of monitors and the faint hum of medical equipment. He tried to sit up, but a sharp pain shot through his chest, forcing him to lie back down. A nurse noticed his movement and quickly approached. "Mr. Anderson, please lie still. You've been through a lot," she said gently. "You were struck by lightning and have been in a coma for 3 weeks." John's mind reeled. 3 weeks? It felt like only moments had passed since the lightning strike. He tried to process everything, the storm, the field, Jesus' words. Had it all been a dream? It felt so real. As John recovered, he couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had changed within him. His hands tingled with an odd sensation, as if they were charged with energy. He thought back to the vision and Jesus' words. The gift to see into the lives of those he touched, what did that mean? The answer came sooner than he expected. A week after being discharged from the hospital, John was helping his elderly neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, carry groceries into her house. As he handed her a bag, their hands brushed, and suddenly, John's mind was flooded with images. He saw Mrs. Thompson's husband, whom she had never spoken about, lying in a hospital bed. He was frail and weak, battling a serious illness. The vision was so vivid that John could see the worry lines etched into Mrs. Thompson's face as she sat by his side, holding his hand. Startled, John dropped the bag, causing Mrs. Thompson to jump. "John, are you all right?" Her voice filled with concern. John blinked, the images fading from his mind. I'm sorry. I just saw something about your husband." Mrs. Thompson's eyes widened. "How did you know about Harold?" "I haven't told anyone." John took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. "I don't know how to explain it, but I saw him. I saw him in the hospital. He's very sick, isn't he?" Tears welled up in Mrs. Thompson's eyes as she nodded. "Yes, he is. I've been so worried." "How did you see that?" "I'm not sure," still grappling with the enormity of what had just happened. "Ever since the lightning strike, I've been having these visions. When I touch people, I see things about their lives." Mrs. Thompson reached out and touched his arm. "John, maybe this is a gift. Maybe you can help people with this." John nodded, though he felt a weight settle on his shoulders. The gift was real, and now it was his responsibility. He had to learn to control it, to use it for good, just as Jesus had instructed. But deep down, he wondered if he was up to the task. Days turned into weeks, and John began to test his newfound ability. He visited friends and acquaintances, subtly finding ways to touch their hands or shoulders, each time bracing himself for the onslaught of visions. Most were mundane: worries about work, hopes for the future, memories of past joys and sorrows. But some were more intense, revealing secrets and fears that people had kept hidden for years. One day, while visiting his friend Mike, John decided to share his secret. They were sitting on Mike's porch, sipping iced tea and watching the sun set. John took a deep breath, then reached over and placed his hand on Mike's arm. The vision came almost immediately. He saw Mike sitting alone in his apartment, staring at a bottle of pills. Despair radiated from him, and John felt a deep, aching sadness. Mike was considering ending his life. John pulled his hand away, his heart racing. "Mike, I need to talk to you about something important." Mike looked at him, puzzled. "What is it?" John hesitated, then plunged ahead. "I've been having these visions ever since the lightning strike. When I touch people, I see things about their lives. And I just saw something about you." Mike's eyes widened, and he shifted uncomfortably. "What did you see?" "I saw you alone in your apartment, with a bottle of pills." "Mike, you were thinking about ending things." Tears filled Mike's eyes, and he looked away, his shoulders trembling. "I don't know how you saw that, but it's true. I've been feeling so lost and hopeless. I didn't think anyone cared." John reached out and took Mike's hand, his voice filled with compassion. "I care. And I'm here for you. You're not alone. Let's get you some help." Mike nodded, tears streaming down his face. "Okay. Thank you." As John left Mike's house that evening, he felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe his gift really was meant for good. But he also knew that not everyone would believe him, and some would even mock him. His journey was just beginning, and the path ahead was uncertain. But with faith and determination, he would do his best to fulfill the divine purpose given to him. And so, John Anderson's life took a dramatic turn, from the mundane to the extraordinary. He had been chosen for a special purpose, and though the road may be difficult, he was ready to face the challenges ahead. The gift was both a blessing and a burden, but John vowed to use it to help others, no matter the cost.